Hello friends, and welcome back to Swiftlessons for a special tutorial on how to master difficult guitar chords. So it happens all the time. I'll have a song tutorial or a technique I'm trying to break down for everybody, and I'll get stuck on one specific chord. So I'm going to be using the chord A7, add 13, a tricky little jazz chord, as an example. I'm going to be showing you 6 different exercises that I use basically to build the muscle memory, the finger dexterity, and my understanding of the chord, so that way I can play it at will. Let's get started. Okay, close look at the fretboard, getting started learning how to master difficult chord shapes. We're going to be doing this in 6 steps. Getting started with step number 1, study the shape. So we're going to be using the A7 add 13 chord. Okay, I'm going to give myself just a general understanding of the chord. I've got the 5th fret of the low E string, I've got the 5th fret of the D string, I've got the 6th fret of the G string, and also the 7th fret of the B string. The A string is muted, and so is the high E string. Okay, so I'm going to study the chord shape, just kind of memorize the way it looks and the way it feels. Then I'm going to start to think of some mnemonic devices that I can use to help me memorize it. So one thing that I notice is that my index finger and my middle finger are in this stacked position, skipping one string. It's a very common shape on the guitar. Now the other thing I notice is that my middle, ring, and pinky fingers are creating this kind of staircase shape, going from the D string down to the G string and then to the B string. Okay, so I'm studying the chord, I'm memorizing the way it looks, and I'm looking for any of those mnemonic devices, like that little staircase shape. Okay, now moving on to step number 2, divide it up. Now that you have the shape and the finger positions memorized, it's time to develop the muscle memory for moving into that shape at will. So we're going to be breaking it up into 2 parts. Let's first practice moving our index and middle fingers into their position. Okay, if you're a beginner, you'll need a bunch of repetitions, just making sure that your fingers land in their appropriate positions right behind the fret. Okay, once we've done that over and over again, then I'm going to move on to the second half of the chord. Just getting used to producing that little staircase shape, making sure my fingers land perfectly on the string, and also with the fingertips up against the fret, so to produce the best quality tones on each string. Okay, we'll do that over and over and over again until those positions become second nature. Okay, very good everybody. So far we've studied the shape, we've memorized the way it looks, looked for those mnemonic devices, we divided it up into easy, digestible chunks, okay, for practice. Now, we're moving on to step 3. Study the sound of each interval. So this next exercise mixes in a bit of ear training to our practice regimen. And it's also going to help to further develop the finger dexterity and also the muscle memory. Okay, so it's going to work like this. Basically what we're going to do is we're going to break the chord apart, arpeggiate it, but in a very specific way. It's going to look and sound like this. Okay, so just one finger at a time, building the chord up. Okay, first ascending and then descending. Okay, so I started with the low E string on the root note, then I go to the D string, I'm going to go to the G string, then add the pinky to the B string, making sure that my fingertips are landing right behind the wired frets. Now this is going to help me build up some extra strength, but the main and most important thing that it's doing is it's teaching each finger what its individual job is. Now in the background, I'm also paying attention to the sound that each of these different intervals is creating. I want to memorize the sound of each individual part of the chord. Once I've done it ascending several times, I'm going to do it descending, the pinky, the ring finger, the middle, and then the index. Alright, so a few dozen repetitions of that, and then you're going to be really well on your way to having this chord mastered. Okay, now moving on to step number 4. Practice the complete chord shape. So at this point, your mind and your body are primed to master this tricky chord shape, the A7 add 13 chord. So the next step is going to be to practice the entire shape. Put it together, all 4 fingers on the fretboard. And the first thing I'm going to do is practice lifting the individual fingers on and off the fretboard, just like this. So the index finger, I'll do that a bunch. Then I'll move on to the middle finger. All right, that should feel a little tight. If it does feel tight, then you should definitely be doing this because there's areas of the hand that need to be exercised. It means you have some weakness there. All right, then I'll do the ring finger. That's extra tough. All right, notice how I'm keeping down the other fingers as I exercise that one individual digit. All right, then the pinky, last but not least. All right, I might do a few repetitions of that. Now, from there, I'm going to take all 4 fingers off the fretboard. Okay, so we're practicing the full shape now. Taking them off, and then making sure we're dropping our fingers right back down onto each finger's designated string and fret number. Okay, as I become more advanced, I can move further and further away from the fretboard. Sometimes I like to shake my fingers out, give my hand a squeeze, just for a complete reset. All right, dozens of repetitions of that. And then, if it feels comfortable, and I'm getting into the shape with ease, then you're ready to move on to step number 5. Okay, very good everybody. So far we've studied the shape, memorized the way it looks, we divided it up. We studied the sound of each interval, arpeggiating, ascending and descending. And we've practiced the complete shape, wiggling our fingers, and taking the shape on and off the fretboard. Okay, now we're moving on to step number 5, transpose the shape. So now that you have the chord memorized, you're well on your way to mastery. I recommend practicing it in several keys. Move that shape up and down the fretboard for speedy transposition. So this is a movable shape. You take it up 1 fret, and it's no longer going to be A7 add 13, now it's B flat 7 add 13. Another fret, all right, we've got B7 add 13. Another fret, we've got C7 add 13, okay, so on and so forth. Now as I move from fret to fret, you might find it to be a little bit more challenging as you go down closer to the nut, where the fret spacing is a little bit wider. All right, as we move up the fretboard, like to the 10th fret position, key of D, the frets are going to be more narrow. So as I move the chord shape across the fretboard, some new challenges are going to arise. I may need to re-implement some of the steps that we covered in this lesson. Okay, very good everybody. Now we're moving on to our 6th and final step. Study the theory behind the chord. So the final step to mastering a tricky chord shape is to memorize the notes inside the chord, okay, so the note names, and also the interval names, so what type of harmony created that chord shape. Okay, so I'm going to attach a fretboard diagram via the Patreon link down in the description, and that's going to help you to discover the names of the notes in this chord shape no matter where you move it on the fretboard. Okay, so if we take a look at it in the key of A, in the bass we have an A note, 5th fret of the low E string. All right, then I look at the D string, 5th fret, that's a G note. All right, then I look at the G string, 6th fret, that's a C sharp. Then I go to the B string, 7th fret, that's an F sharp. Okay, but it's not enough to know the names of the notes inside the chord, because they're going to change from key to key. I want to know the interval names. How do each of these notes compare to the notes that I have in my major scale key of A? Okay, so if I play my major scale, I'm going to see where each note inside the chord falls in the scale, and then I'm going to know which interval number each note inside the chord is. Okay, so if I have my bass note, that's going to be the first note of the A major scale. So we can just call it 1, or tonic, or root. All right, then if I find the next note inside the chord, okay, that's going to be, the flatted 7. Okay, so I need to play up the scale, 7 notes, flat it, and now I've discovered that it's a flat 7 inside this chord, also known as a dominant 7. So this is A dominant 7 interval there. Okay, next we're gonna have the note that makes it major. All right, so the 6th fret of the G string is going to be the octave of the 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, if I go to the next octave, 1, 2, 3. All right, so that's a 3rd. All right, so far we have 1, flat 7, 3. Now, the next note that we have is going to be the octave of the 6th interval. All right, and if played in the 2nd octave, as we are in this chord shape, we're going to call it 13. So if I play up the major scale in 2 octaves, that note is going to be the 13th note that I play. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And that's why it's called an A, dominant 7. All right, the major third is implied because we just said A, not minor, right? So A, dominant 7, add 13. Okay, so it's very important that I know the names of the notes inside this chord, but also that no matter where I take it on the fretboard, it's always going to be a harmony of 1. All right, dominant 7, major 3, and 13. Okay, now one thing I want you to know about this chord shape is that the 5th scale interval could also have been included, but because we only have 4 fingers, it's omitted in this particular grip of this chord shape. Alright friends, thanks so much for checking out this lesson on how to master difficult guitar chords. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. As always, big thanks to my supporters at patreon.com/Swiftlessons. I hope you're enjoying all those extra resources. And thanks to you guys, I got many more lessons coming up, so keep checking in. Please subscribe, please share. This is Rob at Swift Guitar Lessons in Philadelphia, saying happy picking.